to The Journey with Neek, and I am Dominique Nicole. And today we have a pleasure with sitting down with Mr. Aaron Laine. Now, people know him as the Chief Marketing Officer of DeCoach Recovery Center, but I know him as my teacher from Ohio Media School. And he has always been a pleasure to work with, and he's done so many great things. So let's get into his journey. Hello, Mr. Aaron.
Hello.
How are you?
Life is good. No real complaints or anything of actual substance, but it's a lot better than it's ever been. It's good to see you. I'm glad that you're finding something that's so that you love so much, and that's all I could ever ask of anybody is find what motivates you.
Absolutely. You were a big inspiration for that. When I came to Ohio Media School, I started doing my Instagram videos because you were doing Tragedy to Triumph, and I was just like, this is real cool. I've always been like, this guy is so cool. So tell the people what your journey is.
One, thank you. That's what I say. I don't always respond well to when people kind of elevate me to stuff. I'm just a guy that just really is trying to figure it out too, right? Mm-hmm. But it's funny you bring that. So in terms of journey, I'm 41 years old. I struggled with addiction for over a decade. It was a big part of my life. Destroyed everything around me. Caused me to go to many stints in rehab and get in trouble with the law. I had 5 felonies on my record, all drug possession. I've been incarcerated for upwards of a year of my life, not all at one time, but I've been through it, and I put my family through it for such a long time. And it's one of these things, and we see it every day, and we see this idea of what addiction is and how it impacts our community. And it's like the silent epidemic. We know, everybody knows there's a drug problem. Everybody knows about fentanyl. Absolutely. But we don't realize the ramifications that it's caused, right? It's killing 100,000 plus people a year. Right. If we saw that happen, and it's imagine the Super Bowl and everybody dying at one time.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot of people, okay? And that's not even 100, that's 60,000 maybe.
Right,
I'm
it's
just
like
saying.
1%.
Yeah, so you gotta look at that and say, when you visualize it, fill up 2 stadiums, that's how many people we're losing a year to this thing. And it's not, and I don't want to derail all that, but my point is this is a very serious thing that's been plagued in our country, and a lot of people have been impacted by it, whether directly or indirectly, right? And because I was impacted directly, and it affected my family and destroyed, just basically reduced me to a shell of a man. Someone who had no vision, someone, I had, I was just in survival mode. I was running on autopilot. I was just existing to get high. That's all I really did, and I ran from all of my problems. And you can only do that for so long. So it came to a point where at the end of 2016, I was arrested for the last time, sent to jail. And while there, I was given an opportunity to do one more try at rehab. And I didn't think I deserved it. I honestly thought I needed to go to prison at that point in time. I had no value. But a lady by the name of Judge Kim Burke here in Cincinnati, Ohio, used to run our drug court, was willing to give me another chance. So I took it, and while there I had a spiritual experience that literally changed my whole perspective on life. It was the most amazing thing. Heard the voice of God, truly heard the voice of God in the middle of the night.
He will use whomever, y'all.
100%. No, it was, because it's not something it's so crazy when people talk about spiritual experiences, right? And from my perspective, and I get it, I believe people, but I also think people ham it up a bit.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, so you're the voice of God, I get it. I'm sure you did. Yeah, God's in everything. I get it, and I'm a Christian and all these things, but just the idea, I can never really wrap my head around, what do you mean spiritual experience? I saw God or I heard God.
You have to experience that for yourself.
And that's the reality of it. So I believe in them now because it happened to me, and it was so deeply personal. I could never give it, and I have a lot of stories out there where people can hear that whole story within itself. So it is available for people to find. It's Aaron Laine's story of tragedy, triumph, or whatever. But it was so profound that I have not forgotten about it, and it's been a huge part of my life ever since. So really, you see your journey here was struggle with addiction, got past it. I'm almost sober for 7 years now. On December 20th of this year will be 7. My life has been, as a direct result of using drugs, my life's a lot better today, which is crazy to say. So heroin saved my life, basically. So.
What?
That's triggering, isn't it?
It's and it's authentic. It's not triggering, it's authentic. It makes me feel like the things that I'm doing, honestly and truly, are going to impact people the way that I envision it. Because the way I envision it's super big, but I had this from God. He's put it on my heart, and he's never let it go. You know what I mean? And I've always wanted to do this. So this is the way that I'm going. And to hear you say that heroin saved your life, you can hear it. Other people looking on the outside being like it's destroying you, while all the while, it is tearing you down, but it's
Yeah.
going to build you back up.
And because of what's a result of like, so the drug led me to the point of like losing all of it. That's what led me down that path. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have what I do today. And I have a lot of gratitude for all my issues. I truly do. And it's funny you bring up these things and this like idea of doing big things, or like, using your voice to connect with others and having a realization, or the idea of a spiritual experience was something that I connected with many years before getting sober or even having the experience. I remember, it's funny, it's so crazy. We were talking about this yesterday. I was looking through my phone and I was going through, I used to write like journaling in my notes app, right?
Me too.
And I have all of these notes. I was writing, I don't know who, to myself, maybe for encouragement, maybe it's processing something from like 2010 all the way up through now, right? And I've been doing this for a long time. So I went back to like some of the earlier ones. And I found one that talks about where I'm talking to myself in the sense of like, always felt that I've been destined to do something great. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's just delusions of grandeur. It's the only thing like my grandma would tell me when I was a kid. I was meant to be a leader. I only ever shared these things with like my grandma and my mom. It's not something I made everybody. I didn't tell the whole world like I'm going to do something amazing, right? And this is in 2015. I'm writing this letter. I had no idea. I just could not shake the belief that something profound would be happening at some point in my life. It's crazy. I'll send it to you. Like because you fast forward like a year from that point in time to where that actually starts to happen, and this realization. And my realization is very direct. It was that I was going to use all of that ugliness from my past, all those experiences, to create something beautiful and show people that God is real. And if He could do it for me, He could do it for anybody. So that's kind of 100%.
So what inspired you to, I know, so you got arrested for the very last time, and then after that you got your chance to, try this again at another treatment facility. What inspired you to say, I am actually going to stick this out? Because, I follow you on Facebook, and I read that beautiful text message from your father, and parents do this thing to you sometimes where they just want to love you through things, but they also give you that real thing. And one of the things, like, he'd rather have you sober, but he's happy that you are still,
grasping at straws.
Yeah,
right?
you know what I mean?
I just want you to be here.
That's it.
It's heartbreaking when you really think about
it. It is, but it's something that you can look back on and say, it's heartbreaking, but this keeps it going. You know,
100%. And there's accountability in that thing too. Yeah. So I have this weird way of, I don't know if it's weird, it's just the way that I retain information, or I observe things from my past and I relate to them, whether it's a text message, a note on my phone. You see, I have this whole shelf of things that all are tied to stories of my recovery. I look at these life experiences as a driving motive, like a driving force that led me to this moment right here, right? And in that time, you bring up a text message that I shared with my dad, like really grasping at straws. I love you, son. I wish you were sober, but I'm here for you either way. And looking at that now, almost 7 years in, it's like, well, I'm glad I'm sober too, Dad. Like, we did it. How cool is that? Not everybody's so fortunate, though. That's just something we don't want to ever forget. And I don't ever like to believe I'm one of the lucky few, because I have friends that are getting sober every day and are changing their lives. And I know if I can do it, anybody can. So, like, let's make that very clear. Absolutely. It's a sad thing, but anybody can do this. You were asking something. It's kind of like, what are those, like, what inspires me? And what kind of kept me in this mindset of like, it's all going to work out. I had absolute conviction and belief from that spiritual experience that I was here for a reason. It's that simple. I don't want to overcomplicate that. I still believe this, right? And it's this moving target though. Like, I knew immediately I needed to use my voice to connect with other people who have been through what I've been through. I knew that. And because my spiritual experience was revolved around a song that I heard on the radio, it's like, well, people have been telling me my whole life I need to use my voice. Like, why don't I go on the radio? So I made it very clear. I started saying it out loud. And this is, look, I'm 3 months like clean, sober, I've had years of like things not coming together, me making false promises or not coming through on my commitments to anybody. And here I'm telling everybody I'm going to be on the radio in a year.
You go to 96 Rock,
well,
right?
Yeah, that's what's crazy is like you sell yourselves these things. And I think it's been proven, right? Like if you make these beliefs, it's kind of like having a dream board or what are they called? Like if you tell yourself, I wake up every day, I say, I love you, I love you, I love you. Look in the mirror, I tell you, I love you.
Affirmation.
Affirmations. An affirmation becomes true. Okay, you can convince yourself you're going to be a millionaire. Like people do these things, right? And I knew this was the first step. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to be on the radio in a year. I'm a felon. I have no experience. Like, what the hell am I going to do to make this happen? But things tend to line themselves up. It's this, you create your own luck in a sense, and you can, and I believe God orchestrates those things, but I think it's always been orchestrated. I think that there's always been a hand in it. It's just like I wasn't ready to take that path yet. So the path has been created for a long time. Now I'm in a perfect scenario. I have nothing else to lose, right? All I have is my word today. I have nothing else to stand on, and I don't want to lose that. Right. So I'm going to make it happen. And I don't know how. And I've tried a couple things, and sure enough, like no BS, like I think it was like 11 months and like 20 days from the day I committed to my family that, you know, day I was going to be on the radio, that I got a job in radio.
Look at God.
You know, it's crazy. It's crazy now. And I look at it, it's like, it's almost psychotic in a sense. Like, what? How did that happen? It doesn't, I know it happened because I've been through it. I'm here today. Yeah. Like, this is 5 years ago. Yeah. This is not like yesterday. This is a while back. And that was my first goal, was just like, let me get on the radio to use my voice to like, being a felon, having no experience, I'm gonna use my voice on the radio somehow. You say 96 Rock, it was the first opportunity I had. And the guy, he's like, he appreciated my tenacity. I went to the broadcasting school, I was an intern, I did all the things I felt would help increase my chances at success there. Just didn't realize it was gonna happen so quickly. And when it did, and it was so emotional and so profound of a moment, because you gotta remember, even making that commitment to myself is one thing, but like to my family, my dad, like, all right, son, you say so, I love you, and I believe in you, but he's also like waiting for you, like, okay, I mean, before he's crazy. Yeah. For it to happen though, and be sitting in his living room while my voice is on the radio, it was a very emotional, beautiful thing. And he was like, well, you did it. And she was like, I guess I did. Yeah. So, that's pretty beautiful. It's amazing when you put your mind to things, like, honestly, what you can actually do. And that's just one situation. Like, look, I've told you this before, and it's been a common theme of my life. Like, own, like, what drives you, what inspires you, what motivates you, what do you want to do? Like, own it and work towards it. Like, I'm not some special character in the like, where the world revolves around me, even if I think it does sometimes. Like, we all have the ability to do something amazing, okay? And it's like, how much do you want it? Yeah. And are you going to make excuses, or are you going to go make it happen? Absolutely. Because doors will open if you say, whatever it's going to be. I want to be on the TV in a year. I want to do whatever it is. It does not matter. I want to buy a home in a year. You will make those things happen if you make that goal and you continue to and be real about it. Don't just say, I want to be a millionaire. Like, and okay, we all want to be millionaires, right? Like,
how are you going to get there? Because I mean, it's possible. Are you really going to work to get to that place? Yeah, because it does require work. It's not like, this doesn't just fall in my lap. It's not like, well, I'm like, God's like, here you go. Yeah. And it's like opportunity. And it's like, maybe I should do that. Yeah. Or I should do this. And I didn't know how it was going to work out, but it just kept going. And next thing you know, we were there. And then we're like, all right, what's next? I'm like, well, I'm going to get on 2 stations. I'm going to do 3. I'm going to do like, I'm just going to do it all. Yeah, whatever. I'll start a podcast. Let's do all these things. And it just kept, that's what's been going like ever since. Hopefully I'm not losing my mic there. Hopefully not. Your voice, I'm sure the voice will carry. So how many versions of yourself have you been on this journey from, before you were sober and then, now? Like, how many versions of Aaron have you seen? Has it been a lot, or like just a couple? It's a good question. Versions of myself. So this is the thing I do realize, I believe. Because when I was using and was getting high, like, that wasn't me, right? Like, I was in this form, this ethereal form, and I was in this body, but I was a totally different person. I was like, I'm not who I am. It's funny, it's like, I was someone else before I got high, and I'm someone else after. But during that period, I was a shell of a man. I had no purpose, I had no conviction, I faked it all. So I don't think that it's a version. I think that's a facsimile. I think that is a, life is on pause, and some people, their life ends there. That's super sad, right? But in recovery, it's been really interesting. There's an evolution to this, and I really believe it, because people get it confused. They think like being sober is some like milquetoast thing or whatever, like, oh, we don't drink or smoke anymore, like all that. It's like, it has nothing to do with that. Like, that's just tip of the iceberg. It clouds your judgment, it clouds your mind, and there's a lot that goes with it, just the lifestyle and the pursuit of money in order to get the drug. Like, it's all ugly, it's all bad, right?
Recovery is taking that thing, removing it from the equation, saying, well, drugs are no longer part of this. Without those, what can I make happen? And what is my life going to be like? And it's evolving. There's a constant evolution because my goals are different. When I first got clean and sober, I wanted to be a good dad. Like, let me focus on that. Okay, so that was my pursuit. I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And I became a good dad. I was like, no, I need to get a job. I need to go get a job. Like the pursuit. So it's like these are versions of me. Like my version today. Like we're talking maybe 20 to 30 different types of things have evolved in this recovery process over 7 years because my goals are different. My life today, there's no humanly way possible that I would ever have been able to handle it either prior to my addiction or when I first started to get in my recovery. So I say many versions, still the same guy at its core, but learned a lot more, made a lot more mistakes too in the process, or what I wouldn't consider mistakes. It's just like different paths. Like you're still going to get somewhere. I still believe it always works out. That's what I believe I have to have. But I think a lot more, I've evolved a lot more in my recovery than at any point before that.
Yeah, because now you're walking on purpose and in purpose and with purpose. So
True.
In that instance, you are no longer that shell of a man because now you're fulfilled with your conviction within yourself.
Or try to be.
Yeah.
You know, there's not like a perfect way to even do it. I still fall so short sometimes. Like I don't ever want to confuse it. Like there's no way.
Though.
I know it's a good point. Good point. I still get very frustrated with things. I still get this or that. I have my own mental health concern. Like the list goes on. There are things that I still have to work on that have reared their ugly head. Like because I did a lot of damage to my body. A lot. People don't realize that too. Like that stuff doesn't just destroy like the mind, but like physically things like the way that your body moves your blood around, or the signals processing from dopamine, or whatever these things that like are at a core very difficult for the body to say, well, now it doesn't have it, we're just going to make those chemicals again. You see what I mean? So people don't have no idea the science behind it. You're like, a lot of damage. So
and with that being said, it navigates right into my next question. How do you navigate your rough patches? And I'm so thankful that you are being, and this is why I do what I do, why I do this, because I get to see the authentic you.
Okay.
You know, most people want to see the script of you. I just really want you to be you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's no script here.
Yeah, you've never been a script though.
Like, I have an idea, but like, what's your question? I'm so curious
how do you navigate your rough patches? Because I watched your clip on the news, and you were saying, in order to, I'm paraphrasing, help someone that is like having that's in recovery from addiction or has an addiction, that you want to trigger them. You don't want to be, when you come over for the holidays, you put the bottle away and say, well, I'm going to drink, because regardless of if you drink or not, if they want to, they will.
Yeah, so like, well, some of that, and this is a difficult thing about like how news presents itself. I did a long form interview. Most of the time I'm talking, I do a lot of talking, right?
Yeah.
And they have to create a narrative. And it's not a narrative, and it wasn't necessarily wrong, but there was parts of that. I like coming at things from different angles, right? And say, okay, I'm one, and this is a good, you actually raised a great point, because I think it's important, especially being the holidays. A lot of people are triggered around the holidays. A lot of people suffer from substance use disorders, drinking, drugs, whatever. Like, you know, there's a lot of reasons for this, okay? Being around family, old family history, financial reasons. I mean, list goes on and on and on. You know, old family traumas, whatever it may be. And then people who are trying to be either trying to get sober or are sober, right? So I look at it and I say, all right, I don't drink. It doesn't bother me. You can drink in front of me, I have no impact on my life, okay? Your drinking has no, or like my sobriety is not a judgment call on you drinking. That's was my point in that. Like, so if I go to a family get together and you guys are having, like, if it makes me so uncomfortable, then I should have a plan. I should leave. I shouldn't be there. I shouldn't expect everybody else. And it's not a bad thing for a family to say, you know, in support of Aaron, we're not going to have alcohol at the table, or whatever it is. You know, Jim Bob, it doesn't matter who the person is.
Right.
That's a good thing to do, but it's not a requirement, because I need to be able to live life and not be like so worried about what someone else is doing. So when I say, so that was that kind of thing, because it's also, you have families that can be very supportive, or families that are autonomous. At the end of the day, my recovery is my responsibility. It's not yours to do for me. Now, if you're snorting cocaine off of the dining room table while everybody's eating dinner, this is a little different story. I'm not advocating families do like, hey, just go ahead and go for it. No big deal. You know what I mean? So it's just, it really depends on the scenario. But I know we kind of derailed there, but like,
Your rough
you
patches.
rough patches themselves, how to navigate them. Like the biggest thing that I do, the one I have a huge sense of accountability anymore. That is really important to me, and I'm very vocal about within reason. Not everything is the world's business, okay? But I have a lot of people in my life that I share everything with. Okay, I share everything with my spouse, like the love of my life, like the most amazing thing that has happened in that respect of like having a best friend that takes me through who I am, all of those things, and being able to share like my like the way my mind is kind of broken at times, or I'm obsessive about stuff, or I'm hurt by like whatever. Those are rough patches. Okay,
Yes.
those are things
Yes.
that affect me. I bring her into the fold of that, and I bounce it off of her. And I have friends that I say, man, like I am struggling today. And most of the time, struggles, like when you say rough patches, it's mostly in here.
Yes.
Like life itself, life happens. Okay, I have a lot on my plate.
Absolutely.
Most of them, when I say like you can navigate rough patches by realizing it's not gonna last forever, and you're gonna have to get through it. Okay, but as it's happening, some days I have to take a step back from it and just like decompress for a moment. Most of the time, I have to speak it into existence of like, this is really bothering me.
Yep.
And these are why. And if I sound crazy to my friends, at least they know, like, look, I might sound crazy right now. I'm just going to process this. I need to bounce this off. I'll probably solve my own issue here.
Yeah.
You'll have some input and say, never mind, I got to go. Figured it out. But I just need this. I need a sounding board. I need a sounding board to do this. Rough patches, I include people in that because what I've realized is when you try to do everything truly on your own, you will fail.
Period.
Flat.
I'm sorry.
It's like carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, right? Like
Absolutely.
people have said, like you don't have to do this. There's this beautiful thing, like Greek mythology, it's the Titan Atlas. Okay, and Atlas, literally, his job was to carry the world on his shoulders by himself, and in constant support. Like you realize how heavy that is, like how much that person had to bear. Like, and I always looked at that. I was like, what if he had someone to do it with him? They'd be able to hold it up really easily. So I look at that and I say, you could hold up the world together. And that's kind of a basis of things I'm moving in towards now, and like mental accountability and recovery, and realizing like, hey, I never did any of this alone. I didn't get to this point alone. I was a part of the equation for sure. It's not like someone else did it for me. Like, and again, I believe God puts things in our lives, but we have to take the step forward. But there are also people that are instrumental in that. They're ones that are willing to give you the opportunity, right? So because of those things and shouldering that burden together, then it increases the likelihood that that person that was carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders for so long will soon realize that they don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, because you have the vulnerability, you have the safe space, you have the people that are. Because I do the same thing. Like I'll call my sister with my rough patch, which is always up here, and we'll talk, and I'm just really bouncing it off, and she kind of gets a word in, but she doesn't, and then at the end I'm like, you know what? I figured it out. She's like, well, I'm happy I was able to help.
Beautiful. No, it's
that is
1,000%.
legit. I understand, like, and that's what I mean by rough patches, because like you said, life happens, but we gotta keep shouldering on. But when it comes to up here, if you don't fully accept exactly what's happening in your mind, you want to move past it or like just brush it to the back, then it builds up. And
I think there's also part of recovery is seeing our place in things. And like this is the other, like what I was saying, it's not just about not getting high. It is about trying to be the best version of yourself you can be in that. It's in that you evolve there, and recognizing like I play part in this, whether I am an innocent bystander or I actively played a role in making a problem here. As long as if I'm honest with myself, what did I bring to the table? And you can apply this to arguments with other people. Like, okay, I probably should have said it that way. Like, I got to own that as an asshole. Like, yes, all right, fine. I can do that. I am man enough today. It's not always easy. I hate being wrong. Ask anybody who knows me. I got to be right all the time because I just think I am. But there are things like where I have to say when I'm honest with myself, then it works. And it's funny because when I bring people into the fold, that is a universal thing. That's not just in my home life, it's my work life. I have an amazing team of people that work with me that know obviously that I'm in recovery. It's a big part. This is why I'm here, okay? But discussing my situations at home, my own mental health stuff, my struggles in recovery, like I bring them into it. It's not necessary. You don't have to share those things with your employer. But you know why the way I look at them, like, look, we're human beings. I'm gonna just keep it real so that you know what's going on in my life. It's not gonna distract from what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm gonna do my job, but I'm gonna let you know because guess what? it is a very real thing. And if I'm accountable to you as well, and I'm accountable, and this is a really important job, I want to make sure you know, as you know, I'm big, like, and I don't think people do that. People are like, why would I tell my boss this? Why would I tell my
They're going to use it against me, or they're going to do this
I don't care. People can use things against you regardless if you want them to or not. And I think the people, like the right people, will look past that. Or we all fall short. We all have these things. And at the end of the day, my job is about producing a result and actively helping somebody.
Exactly.
So as long as that's being accomplished, all the other stuff is irrelevant.
Yeah. It doesn't really, like, if you want to bring it in, we can bring it in, but we don't have to.
No, for sure.
So, how many no's before you got a yes? So, how many times did you try this before you got your opportunity, your door?
So, it's interesting because specifically like in the radio thing, think of that as an example, like the no's for that. When I was in the treatment center, when I had the realization, I convinced someone to get me an interview at the radio station to be a salesman. It was like, that'll be my end, because I've done sales my entire life. And she did it. She knew someone who worked there. This is the same radio station I ended up working at, but this was coming in from a different angle. Okay? I go there, I leave the treatment center to do this interview. I looked as good as I possibly could. I didn't bring all of those things up. I wasn't, like I went there and I just wanted to like go on the merits. I'm a good salesman and have a hell of a voice. Those are my things, right? And I went through the interview and they basically were like, we'll get back to you. And then it was no. And I kept following up. I'm like, I really think I could do this. Like, give me an opportunity. I'm like, no, I think you're more for the other side. I was like, well, what about, can I do that? Like, I can't just bring you in. That's their deal, right? So it would be two specific ones. But this is also interesting. This is in a radio specific, because the next one ended up being like, if I need to be an intern, how am I going to do that? Then I need to go to school. And then so I went to school, and funny thing enough, like 2 weeks later, that same company was looking for interns, and I got hired. So really it was 2 no's to get into my foot in the door, okay?
Okay.
So that was it. That's all it took. All I need is like, let me in, and I'll handle the rest, right?
Yeah.
That's so 2 for that specific thing. But it's so interesting because I look at my story as like from getting sober and having felonies, people don't realize how difficult it is with a criminal record to get very basic jobs. Okay, this is a problem a lot of people have suffered. So I'm gonna give you a perfect example. Okay, I had a legit license, I had insurance, I'm sober, I got a car. I was like, okay, what can I do? Maybe I'll just deliver pizzas, or I'll do Uber Eats or something. Those places wouldn't hire me because I had a criminal background. I thought, like, what do you think I'm gonna do? Like get high off the pizza? Like, what do you think I'm gonna do with this food? It didn't make any sense to me. You're not gonna hire me. I got a car. Like, you need people to do this job. You ain't hiring me. Like, what do you think I possibly could do that could cause you guys so many issues? And it happened a few times. I was running all these roadblocks. I'm like, why is it so difficult in the world of digital? Like sending in an application. Are you have criminal history? Like, yes. Like, I don't like lying. I want to be real. But this is what's also crazy in all of that, right? Because it happened. Because it happened to me. I really believe this. I think anybody listening to this should understand it too. Like, the right people will give you the opportunity.
Yes.
They just will. They don't care. Like, that's all irrelevant. When I told them I had 5 felonies, they looked at me like they couldn't even believe it. And I thought I was also too late. I was like, well, I'm already here. You can't stop believing now. I'm just throwing that out there. But still, even when I got my job in this industry and working in treatment, now it's an evolution of things. Like, I was very transparent about it. I was like, I figured the right people will say yes. And if this is not, if they don't want me, because it has happened, they'll say, no, we just don't think you're right fit. Fine. Then I believe you.
Yeah.
Because you're not willing to look past that, which is honestly irrelevant, in my opinion.
If I can do your job, I can do your job.
And I get hiring people with substance abuse issues, could be high risk. I understand that because I employ people with substance abuse issues or prior things. But I like taking risks on people because the reward is so much sweeter. It just is. So
I have a brand. My brand is just Bold, and Bold stands for Be Okay Living Divinely. That is what my brand stands for. So what does bold mean to you in that aspect of be okay living divinely? When you hear that, what do you think?
I think, I guess the first thing that comes to me is like being content and being grateful for what you have. And within that and the realization, like, look, I mean, I have a roof over my head, my bills are paid. My family loves me. I've had my own health things this year. I'm getting old, like my hips messed up. I ripped my bicep. Like I've had issues, but my
Right.
point is like I'm also in a position to take care of those things. And I look at this, I have a lot of gratitude that I'm in this. So I think when you say being okay, living divinely, is like if you're doing right by others, you should be able to be content with whatever you're given as a result. Because even if it's not what you ideally want it to be, and you have a goal in mind to make it better, then make it materialize. Okay, you don't have to be comfortable in every setting. But you do have to be grateful for what you do have today, because comparing that to somebody else and you don't know their journey and what the other shit they got going on is only going to make you more sick inside anyway. So I think it also goes to like don't compare yourself to others. I think it's just like,
stay in your lane. Don't walk somebody.
Yeah, I would say stay in your lane. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna trademark that. I was saying that's the next podcast. Stay in your lane.
Really, yeah, with the lane is your last name. Oh yeah.
I was thinking about staying in your lane, but it's like, I'm gonna. As I told everybody for Christmas, I'm giving them my opinions this year. So. We're gonna be doing that. Turn that microphone back on. It's bound to happen.
Let's do it.
No, I think it's a beautiful thing that you're right. Like you have to be able to, because really, like, what's the resentment's like the number one offender. Like people who live in resentment. If you know what I mean. Like if I resent you for whatever reason, that's like drinking poison myself and waiting for you to die. Right?
Yes.
It's all it does is ruin my life. You rent space in my own head for something you don't even know.
For free.
I hate that concept.
What?
Right? And I did that for so long. How everybody else was the problem, this and that. Like this is a whole part of like again recovery. What it does is not it's not about the drugs. It's about the state of mind. It's about pursuit of better, bigger things and being a better person and making a close relationship to God and those around. Blah blah blah. But those are the types of things that become very pervasive in most people. And people aren't okay because they're trying to compare it to something else or this idea of what they think will make them happy.
Absolutely, and especially in the social media world, in the aspect of being
which is so fake. Come on, let's call for what it's so fake.
And that's what I'm saying. Like
so
we
bad.
get on here and we see everybody's living this life of like, oh, perfect, and it's like you can get caught up in it,
but that's just the human nature. It's human condition anyway. We've always been like that. It's materialism is built into us. It's like part of like being human.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating because it's all it's funny. Like we all do present. Most of us present our best selves to the internet, myself included. Okay, I do like sharing the crazy things like perspectives I'll have. Like 7 years ago, I was buying drugs. Now I'm buying little rye breads for Pinky Pennies. Okay, like that's just the truth. It makes me laugh. I'm like, how the hell did this happen to me? Right? Some people like are overshares and they share like it's all for attention. Like, everybody's like, oh, you're just doing this for attention. Like that's what social media is. Okay, you're trying to like. If we all understand I don't see the issue there. But I don't like the things that are truly manufactured for the sake of being manufactured, right? And I even had an issue with this myself because I became victim of it too. Anybody knows me recognize, especially my significant other, is I still have this very addictive mindset, and it's not just about drugs. It can be about anything: work, sex, food, social media, attention. You know what I mean? And I had a goal in mind. I did that shit alcoholically. Like, let me get this podcast off the ground. And I was like hammered every day. Like, what are my numbers? What are my metrics? What are this? Blah, blah, blah. And I got really involved. And you realize, like, while it's helping get this thing going, it's also kind of a sickness, too. And I know if I'm dealing with that, everybody that runs these social media, like, influencer accounts like that, are probably doing the same mindset, too. And I was like, I don't like the way it makes me feel. Like, what is this going to give me? Necessarily. I gotta be real. Like, I want to do this. Why did I even create the show to begin with? It's because it's the right thing to do. I want people to know these stories, and I wanted to find my own recovery, whatever it is. So I just put that out there. I mean, I know we had a lot of things in our conversation here, but I think it's fascinating because really what I try to present out to the world today is just me. Yeah. It is what it is. Like, I'm not trying to be anybody else. Yeah. I also got buddies who are like, I was like, bro, that doesn't even sound like you. Why are you under like, you sound like a preacher? You're not a preacher, okay?
My sister will call.
Closing his eyes.
She'll watch one of my videos and be like, why are you using that voice? Like, or why are you all, hey, when you are really like, what's up? Like, why are you trying to be something else? And I have to like check myself, like, you right? Because I am, like, I cuss a lot. I have a mouth of a sailor, but I also give some really good advice, and I really love helping people and listening to their stories. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I got caught up too, like loading on YouTube and being like, who's watching? But
there's a healthy amount of that. It needs to be, if you're trying to build something.
Exactly. I started to be obsessive where I would be checking it like.
It's not good for you.
Exactly, and I had to slow down. And one of my sisters told me, like, it doesn't matter if you get one viewer, just keep going. somebody's gonna see it. Somebody's gonna love your story.
It's very funny. You know, like this whole thing about recovery people when we go to share our stories, places like, if I can impact one person, I get that. I used to be there. Like part of my evolution was like I like going where I'm needed, and I don't like wasting other people's time. I don't want people wasting mine. That's the truth. That's really where I'm at today.
Yeah.
They wasn't like that when I started. Like I'll say yes to everything. I don't have that luxury anymore. I have too many responsibilities to other people, and I'm a part of this equation. Like I have to pay it's like pay the star player first, which you are the star player in your life. Like take care of you. I still struggle with that. Like I got a car. Like some lady hit me a year ago. Okay, I have the money to fix the door on the car. I swear to you.
And you have not gotten it.
But you know, the other things I'm taking care of for everybody else, and like my wife will do, like my tire will be going low or this or that, and like I could just go do it. I don't have the money. I just don't even think about it because I'm going from point A to point B, and I'm like, once I'm at point B, it's like, well, I gotta go jump back to point A, and then So I'm just saying, like, there's still, it's funny. I need to take my own advice is my point.
Yes, make that part of your goal where we help
2024
Aaron.
is like, let's make sure Aaron's getting taken care of.
Because as long as you are taken care of, everyone else around you is going to be taken care of.
Yeah, you can pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
That stuff is universally true, you know. So like and like going through the rough patches and all that stuff, and like bringing people into the fold, and like being like so transparent, and bold enough to have these conversations with people and not really care what anybody thinks has served me very well. And because it has, it gives me some type of comfort, knowing like, again, like there's not anybody can hold against me, and it's only really the only person who really messes this up at this point would be me.
Exactly.
So
what type of advice would you what advice would you give someone who is either struggling or unmotivated to follow their dreams, rather it be because they have an addiction or they just don't see the value in it? Like, what would you give them?
Well, I mean, there's a couple answers within that. I think the main thing, especially when you bring up something like an addiction, and people can have different types, right?
Yep.
You got to own that real fast, because that takes precedence over everything. I could not have the life I did today and still be on drugs. There's no way humanly possible could maintain a high frequency job, run treatment centers, do a media thing, have some special needs, and run a household. There's no way I could do any of those things. So, and let alone set goals to do something else. Like it's all frivolous and it's all BS if you're getting high. Okay, so you gotta check that first, because once you get that off your shoulders, anything's possible. Okay, and it can start small. Like I always tell people, all right, if you're struggling with something, and it's self-doubt, that's another thing too, or failure before, like, you don't have to fail every time. Like how many times people, like all of these super successful people probably failed 1,000 times over the course of their career, but they finally got lucky, right? But they continued doing it. Like I believe that that's true, because people have done it. It's the same story. Every time you look any motivational thing, they're like, just make it happen. Like keep doing it. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. And I think people sometimes need to check their motives too. Like, what is your motive? Why do you want to do this?
Right.
I always go back to that. Like, it's like if you're in the pursuit of money specifically, that's a problem in my mind, right? It comes with it. It's so true. Like, I know we all like, why do I have my job? So I can take care of my family. Yes, 1,000%. I don't work for free.
Right.
But I'm not chasing the money. I'm chasing the result. And I'm looking to how can I help more people? How can I make sure more people recognize that they have value? And it's also getting people to that baseline and showing them that pathway to it and supporting them through it. And like what we do, like here at the treatment center, is like revealing to the person their true self and the opportunities that they have in front of them, and encouraging that. So my brain derails. It's my ADHD. Sometimes
I have it too. No, I have it. Trust me, we're alike. I have it too. Where
we'll get there. It's like train derails a few times, but we'll get to our destination
every time.
Every time. Some people love when I do some like the podcast and tell these stories, because it's just like, I don't know where he brought that out from, but it's funny. It's very funny. No, it's what we were saying though. I think.
What advice would you give to someone that needs to be motivated, or they're struggling with choosing to follow their dreams?
I think it's, in the simplest answer, it's like, if I can have a life that's worth living, anybody can. Okay, I'm telling you, I think we overcomplicate it. Stop simplify it. Like, what do you want? Set a goal. Meet that goal. Like I said, like getting started, I just want to be a good dad. That's all I cared about. I was like, I'm such a terrible father because I was getting high, and I was like, wow, I love my kids. That was such standing in front of it. And I was like, I just need to go to that. If I can go back to doing that, then I can figure out something else, right? And then I start setting those bigger goals and all these other things. But like, how bad do you want it? Do you really like? And that's what I said. Check your motives. Like, if you're just trying to get rich, then you're not going to get there.
Nope.
You might. Well, actually, there are people that say, "I'm going to be rich," and they go out and be rich. They make that a reality. But I don't think that gave them fulfillment. I want people to go for something like, you know, not that everybody has to live in service of others. I don't think everybody's built that way.
Yeah.
I am built that way. I've seen by providing a service to other people and putting them on a platform to either share their story or change their life, my life gets better. And I like my life getting better. So if I realize helping other people does that, I'm gonna help as many people as I can, because guess whose life keeps getting better? And mine. Exactly. So selfishly, let me go help some more people.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea.
That's how I feel fulfilled when I hear people's stories and how they really overcame these things, and now look at them. Even if it's like I said, I told you before we started that I don't want to just interview business owners and things of that sort. Like, I want to interview people that had a major weight loss. Like, you know, you understand that you were somewhere down the line addicted to something, and you chose yourself to get up and lose that weight and do what you had to do for your health, you know? So, and
it happens in many people all the time. And it's no, it's really fascinating stuff. I'm on board with those things 100%, because I think everybody has a story to share, right? And some of them, look, what I do realize, I think it's an important point to bring up, and because we live in a day and age where there's like this idea of a sense of equity almost, and like, my pain is not nearly as bad as someone else's pain, okay? And I understand the premise of that, okay? The most perfect example, if I lived in the most poor of neighborhoods in South Africa with no running water and no food, my life was terrible. The likelihood of success in any way is so low. I can't fathom that existence, right? I don't think you can fathom. Like, neither of us. Or from, like, literally, I'm saying no running water, no electricity, no food.
You know your environment.
And you're surrounded, like, your village is surrounded by people with guns. Like, that is a terrible situation to have to be raised in. And that person, if they make it out, and they made it and become successful, is mind-blowingly way more, like, than my BS stories. Really, seriously.
No,
and when you break it down like that, like, they had all of this adversity and turned it all around, okay?
It's like the girl that escaped North Korea.
That's my point. You see, like, you're like, man, you can't believe this stuff, right? Wild things that people have had much worse, but this is the reality, right? Are the feelings the same? It's all relative. That's my point. It's like, even people that were born rich and have been given everything, and I understand that may have given them access to things, but the feeling is the same. The feelings of inadequacy or fear or despair or frustration are still the feelings of fear, despair, frustration.
No matter what the material.
So do you think you're more into, like, it's all relative? Like, yeah, you're right. Like, I never had to go. I was never, like, living dirt poor with no access to running water. Okay, but I have been fearful of. I have been. You know, and people don't have to agree. I just think, like, it's like being in jail and you hear your name called across the PA. It's a good feeling. It doesn't matter if it happens today or tomorrow, it's still gonna feel the same. Once you hear your name, like, cool, I get to leave, right? So still, that's my point, and it's like, we don't have a reference point to that. So yes, you've had all this terrible shit happen to you. Yes, you can have the award of being more damaged to me. Fine. But I'm so proud of you. Like, shouldn't we both, like, from where we came to where we are now, like, it's still a journey. My journey is just as impactful because it's changed my life. So, you see, I mean, that's kind of where my mind goes. It's like, there's an equalizer there, because it's still the same thing. So.
That's why you should never try to level yours to someone else's. It makes no sense to be like, well, you are recovering from being a drug addict, but I'm recovering from self-doubt and, you know, not having self-awareness and low self-esteem and things of that nature. But look at where we are. We're both on this camera talking about things.
I think it's a beautiful thing, and it is neat. And I think there is sometimes you're like, all right, I'll give you guys that one. That one is, like, so terrible. It makes me sound ridiculous talking about my shit, right? It does. But I don't have that reference point, and it doesn't invalidate mine because my family matters. You see what I'm saying? Like, your story matters to those around you, and maybe it impacts millions of people. I don't need to impact a million people. I never wanted to be internationally known. I just wanted to be loved and appreciated in where I'm from, and help those people that are closest to me, so no other mom has to go through what mine went through, and that people can see value in what they bring to the table and make the most out, do big things with it. I mean, that's what I really believe. So.
Absolutely, and I greatly appreciate you sitting down with me, man.
Okay.
When you said yes, I was like, yes.
It's just
so
timing
excited.
for me, and I felt so bad because like I get so busy and so committed. Like, I mean, we didn't spend this time talking about all the different things that I'm involved in, but trust me when I say like carving out time now, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It just has a impact on everything else for the rest of my day.
Absolutely, and I am honored that you took the time out to actually do this, because we have been correlating for a little while, but I'm very patient with those that are trying to help me, because you doing this is helping me fulfill my purpose. So like you said, selfishly, I'm gonna work with it. Me too.
I love the sound of my voice. Everybody knows me. Like, Aaron will not lie about that. One of those jokes is I've developed this like panic disorder, and I don't know why necessarily, trying to figure it out. And it's like the God's cruel joke, like give the guy who loves the sound of his voice, loves to talk all the time, a panic disorder when he's doing it. Are you serious? It's like we gotta deal with that too, on top of everything else we've dealt with. I'll get through it. I'll figure it out. But still, it's like, can we just check off the list? Why am I doing that now, 7 years later? You can do that year one would be better. Okay,
yeah, so then we can already be over that part.
Right. But it's been cool. And there's so many things. Like the thing I always realize in having conversations with people is there's always so much more to cover. And there's always so much like, look, from getting from there to here, a lot of things have happened. But the bottom line is someone else gave me an opportunity to be successful. And I wanted it bad enough that I took it. And I still, like, so now I'm to the point where other people are instrumental in that, but I can help others do the same thing. So the person you met was sitting in my office when you came in. It's a perfect example of that. Like, I got to, like, my job here doesn't go any higher in what it is, okay? But my position allows other people to get up to the top too. So I want to see people, because I get to be a part of that success. It's so cool to me. And I'm like, let's show them like how to own their TV presence, and what do they stand for, and how do they market, or like whatever that is. It's the same thing, and seeing it happen for her, this person, is just like, it's really cool to be a part of now. And that's like another gift in this, is like the version, I get to be the version of someone that helps other people be the best version of themselves. So,
yes, which is
there you
awesome.
go.
So, thank you so much, Mr. Aaron, and I am so honored for everybody for sticking around. If you've made it this far, please, please, please don't forget to subscribe. And I'm going to put his links down below. If you know someone that is in need of help, or they're in recovery and they just want to be surrounded by good people, he is an amazing person. I will link his stuff below and at the end of this video, and you guys can reach out to him. Until later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.